Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, slaves of the global plantation. The Vinny Eastwood Show is bad news. It's like the news, but worse. It's the lighter side of genocide. Just because we're being exterminated doesn't mean we can't enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point of being killed? The Vinny Eastwood Show, where the only thing worse than living in a high-tech global police state run by child trafficking Satanists is Vinny's jokes. I mean, seriously, they're just awful. And my very special guest joining me today, Sue and Kiwi. I'm just going to have to adjust a little screeny boo here for them to get them on screen, and they can wave hi, guys.
Hey, Vinny.
Coming at us live.
Looks like I'm going to just peek out right behind you.
Well, coming at us live from Marsden Point. You could see into the camera direction at middle of you if you so please. We've only just got this stream up underway, ladies and gentlemen, so you'll have to forgive the little technical difficulties. We are broadcasting live from a van, after all.
It's the best van, though.
And so myself as well, having not been terribly familiar with Sue and Kiwi's work, we actually met them at a mutual friend's birthday party, and I was like, yeah, let's just get them on the show, mate. You know, what could it hurt? It's not like I can get deplatformed anymore. So
Gonna say we had our background with being deplatformed too, though.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat. Anyone that wants to speak anything that even closely resembles truth has pretty much been deplatformed.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a big club, and we're all in it.
It's true.
You know, it's kind of like that commiseration, that sort of trauma bonding that soldiers have on the battlefield, sort of thing. So I love you guys. I love you so much. I'll be there for you back or whatever. But. So, without, as they say in Israel, further ado, would you please explain a little bit about what you do and about you?
Easy. That's totally easy. Now, Kiwi and I have been a mutual partnership for quite a few years now. I moved to New Zealand in November of 2019, and in 2021, we actually started our own show called At Week's End News. You might want to say that in your Kiwi accent.
At Week's End News. So most people struggle with that, but if you can grasp the idea that at the end of the week, we wanted to summarize the week's news. So it was in Week's End News.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a mouthful, so we sort of rebranded a little bit, and it's just Kiwi and Sue. We met online 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was about
4 years ago, when a lot of truth and information and discernment was coming out, and we started researching, the deep state and all the corruption globally together, and decided we wanted to do it physically together. So we brought Sue over here, and we got married, and we do whatever we can to bring people the good news, the winning, the moving forward from the position we're in.
Yep. So we actually we started our show about a month before Counterspin started their show, actually. So we all kind of joined in the boat together. So we didn't really know each other back then. But yeah. But our whole point at Week's End News was to disseminate the news for the people that didn't have time to do it themselves, because there was a lot of disinfo and misinfo and all of that.
So what we do is we take the week's news that was worth looking at, we'd do a little bit of a deeper dive into it, and we'd present the full picture of the news rather than what was just sent out on mainstream or in some of the online platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that come about? Why did you actually start doing it?
Look, you're going to be upfront. The Q movement got us asking questions about what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And we started learning that we'd been lied to, and we're continuing to be lied to, and we wanted to learn how to figure out when someone was lying to us or when we've been told a lie. And unfortunately, the whole damn system's a lie.
Yep. So we're trying to teach all our audience plus anybody else who has a chance to learn the different, like the
Discernment.
Yeah, the art of discernment, if you will.
How to just, instead of just taking some information that gets fed to you on a plate via mainstream media or a post on Twitter or Telegram or Facebook, we teach the art of looking at that information and seeing for yourself whether or not it's true.
Yep. And of course, this year has been a complete overhaul of our planning. So we were doing a show like you once or twice a week. We started to do more of it, and then the protest circuit started happening. And we followed Brett Power to Taranaki.
Before Wellington kicked off.
Yeah, to film him serving Minister Andrew Little the papers, if you will. And after that, we went to Wellington, and we stayed there the whole time. And we filmed it all.
So shortly before Wellington, I'd had enough of sitting back and going to work and having a relatively comfortable life.
We wanted to do it rough.
I wanted to do everything I could to fight the corrupt bollocks system that we're in at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I left work. Then Wellington kicked off, and we've been on the road ever since.
How hardcore is that, man? Because just looking at the system and all of the things that really go into it, and then going down there to actually fight it, and then seeing what happens when you go up against the system directly to its face.
Well, that's actually been one of the biggest learning curves of coming to Marsden Point for the digging, is the different ways that the system has to tear a movement apart or a resistance apart from the inside. And, it's people who have good hearts and think they're doing good things get used and to tear these movements apart from the inside, and often can't see they're being used to do it.
Yeah, we didn't realize we'd be up against each other.
People, yeah. So that they literally, the system uses our own peers against us to try and tear down movements like this. So that was a little bit of an eye-opener.
Yeah, definitely.
And when we talk about this kind of eye-opener, what are the logical conclusions to that? I mean, how do you conduct yourselves now? Because I remember when I went into activism, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I thought that everybody, if they were all for the truth and stuff like that, they must be good people because they're all for the truth. And then I realized that you get used, you get abused, and you get thrown away. And even if you've done tens of thousands of hours of work for somebody, basically no appreciation whatsoever. So how have you conducted yourselves perhaps a little bit differently now?
So we know that we're in this on our own, as far as what we can't expect anyone else to be lifting us up or to be taking us with them. It's we're out here standing on our own 2 feet, doing what we can to help people see what we can see, and hopefully share some of the vision that we have for where we want New Zealand to go. We've been out here meeting with all different kinds of New Zealanders, from all different spectrums, from left to right to centre to extreme. And so now we've got a fairly good picture of what a lot of the groups are actually expecting from the freedom movement. And you have to differentiate the freedom movement from the word freedom, because the two don't actually align.
No.
Some of the freedom movements are pushing for things that actually remove other people's freedoms.
Yeah.
And they need to come back into the center. So when people talk about, one of the things we've learned is that unity is not something that's going to happen overnight, until we all in the truth movement actually learn that the truth is paramount and the truth will bring unity. But until we realize that there is a government and a system-based operation to destroy the movement from within and start dealing with it, we can't actually move forward. So at the moment, we're sort of in a holding pattern. Sue and I are planning to go on a bit of a road trip with Brad, and because I personally agree with a lot of the things Brad says. I think he's a very logical person. I think he's a very brave person for sticking his hand up and saying, I'm going to take on big oil by trying to prevent the Marsden Point oil refinery being shut down and destroyed.
Yeah, definitely. And Brad Flutie has been, he was the reason why we came here initially. And a lot of what he's behind is the reason why we're still here 2 months later.
Yeah, but just to maybe correct some assumptions out there that you guys don't see. Brad isn't here every day. He isn't running this movement. He is a member of this movement. He is definitely instrumental, and he kicked it off. He definitely fired it up. But he was, he had help from former operators from the plant, other people that wanted to be involved with this, and we came down here and we just took on whatever role we could, and we do what we can. So we don't answer to Brad. We're here working along the same goals as Brad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I just got a message back from Brad just before the show saying he'll be coming on the show tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. And also spoke to Damien Dement, and he'll be coming on next Friday at 10:30 a.m. as well. So that's a morning in Vinny Eastwood's life. Just hey, it's 9:11 a.m. Let's call Damien Dement. And so,
that's a good one.
I think it's a collaboration that I crave and I think is the best thing. I mean, anybody who's a musician knows this, is that when you're playing together and you're making up things together, that's when the real magic happens.
It is, and you bring your own talents, your own strengths together, and when they're aligned, when you're at the same resonance and you're heading in the same direction, you can create something much bigger and better than just the one of you.
Yep, and you're already starting to dig into the decent people in this country.
We have found some really good, really solid, hearty, trustworthy, honest people in this country through this movement.
And some really wild characters too, like Hosty.
Yeah.
Now Hosty, Jab Crash Test Dummy. That's one of the first people we actually got from the freedom movement in New Zealand on our own show, and we've been good mates ever since.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know all about Hosty.
I'm afraid I don't.
Really?
Yeah.
So you, it's interesting.
You just crashed his birthday party with us the other day.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I know who you're talking about then.
Mohsen Hosty, I think is his full name. We just call
okay. I didn't know the alias.
Yeah, definitely. So, it'd be nice for you to actually talk to Brad Flutie like firsthand about the Digging in Marsden. He's been behind this since before we actually got involved, but he, just like we know how important this is to the future of New Zealand.
Yeah, and I just want to say, meeting when we bumped into Sue and I bumped into Vinny Eastwood at Harsty's birthday a little while back, and I just want to let you guys in the audience know, you guys, we do our best to put across our true selves on camera and on our live streams and stuff like that. But to be honest, I'd only met Vinny, seen Vinny on live streams and things like that. Wasn't any real big fan of Vinny. But when I met him in person, I was ashamed of myself for not being more open to the fact that all I'd seen was the online persona. And to be honest, Vinny's doing a bloody good job in New Zealand. He's out there on his own. He's funding himself through crowdfunding, and it's just very heartwarming to be in a conversation with Vinny and you guys, and talking about what I think are like the new New Zealand heroes, because no one else is stepping up. Does that make sense?
It does, and I'll tell you this much: I should definitely be a testament to that.
Not saying that I'm a hero, but I will do anything I can to get this country to where we need to go.
Considering that I'm from a completely different country and I'm feeling the same way he is, I feel like all of your audience, Vinny, should be on that same level. They want to make the best out of New Zealand that they possibly can. For me, not even to be a citizen in this country and actually be fighting for you guys, with you guys all need to stand up, and we need to do it together. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, well, this term "stand up", I've been hearing it a lot lately. Everybody's got to stand up. You got to stand up, and it's just like, well, what do you do when you're in the trenches, and what happens when you stand up?
Oh, you got a point. You do have a point. That tall poppy syndrome.
There is a time for standing, and there is a time for ducking.
Yes, one must know the difference. in the art of war.
If it looks like one and it sounds like one, it's time to duck. But there's this other concept as well, that before you go into the truth movement or whatever label you want to put on it, activism or enlightenment, etc., it said that before enlightenment you must chop wood and carry water, and after enlightenment you must chop wood and carry water. Nothing actually changes because you learn something. And the decency of who you were going into the movement is equal to the decency of the person you currently are. If you're a bad person before you came in, you're still a bad person, even if you're trying to do the right thing.
Oh, that's a good point. That is a good point. I just feel like our actions should tell people our intentions, just saying something.
It's actually kind of easy to discern the two. We found that the bad people don't actually come in and chop wood.
No,
they just come in, make a mess, and leave.
They use the wood for fire.
They sit around it drinking beer and then bugger off.
It's like, there's no chopping involved, no water gathering, no nothing. But that's just our opinion. We've seen a lot of discouraging things in the movement in the past few months, but we're still in the fight, and we're trying to do everything we possibly can to wake the rest of the country up, even though a lot of the country at this point doesn't even want to be woken up. They just want to be left alone. I get that.
I was just thinking about this, the term discourage, it means to take away courage.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the term encourage means to give courage.
And how do you take away courage? You instill fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, true. That's a good point.
And that's the thing as well. When you come into this movement and stuff like that, and you meet people who take things from you or mess you around or whatever, it kind of puts a malaise upon you where you're like, oh, what if the entire thing's... And a lot of people just quit. All right. Now, it's said that 92% of people don't reach their goals. You want to know how to reach your goals? Here's how it works. You have a goal. It's to do X, Y, Z. And then on your way just to about doing it, something happens. Something bad. And you have to reevaluate everything that you were thinking about and change a little and then keep going. And when you think you're really, really getting somewhere, another bad thing will happen that sets you back. And you've got to reevaluate and keep going.
Yes.
This is why 92% of people don't achieve their goals, because as soon as they get that hard time, that is the universe testing them. Are you sure you really want this?
Yes,
exactly. And then they start making excuses. And then they make excuses as... So first of all, they make excuses why they no longer want to achieve that goal. And it might not be to stop going after that goal. It might just be to shift off course a little bit. And then those excuses... they subconsciously know that's going to drag them away from the course. For instance, the people that came to Marsden Point, the dig-in, and were like, we don't like the way Brad's running this, we have to get rid of Brad. Well, Brad's still there, and those people have gone off to do whatever they've gone off to do. And, the amount of time they wasted saying Brad's bad and trying to oust Brad from the movement, if they put that much effort into getting to their goal, we would be a much stronger movement. But that's just, it's just people. People have different ways that they think they're going to achieve their goal. And some of them, their goals aren't what they say they are. They aren't what they tell themselves they are. Their goals, for instance, some of the people that came through the camp at Waipu, their goal was to build sustainable off-grid communities.
Which is cool.
It's a great goal. But what they were telling us and themselves was that they were there to save Marsden Point because it aligned with their other goal. But in fact, they really didn't put any effort into saving Marsden Point. They spent the whole time building off-grid communities on a leased piece of land, which was absolutely pointless and a waste of resources because the leased land could never have been a sustainable village.
But that's an argument in and of itself.
But just when it comes to goal setting is to actually know which goal you want. And not be confused about it and not confuse others about it. And we'll get a little bit further, a little bit faster in this freedom movement.
Yes. Well,
This freedom movement. So there's a concept called white ants, and it comes off the Australian breed of the ant. And the first sign that you know you've got white ants in your house, the house collapses around you. This is how they work. They find all the central support and structure of your organization, your websites, your live streaming keys, your bank accounts, your email databases, and things of that nature. And they start eating up and eating away those support beams. And then just when you've gotten to the point where you think you're getting somewhere in a movement, they pull all those supports out and they take everything you've ever built.
yeah, we're seeing that firsthand, actually.
We're seeing that, but
We call them infiltrators, but white ant
White
sounds
ants
like
is
a
good.
good idea. Yeah.
But what's actually happened is we've met the other lions around New Zealand, the other people ready to stand up and do stuff, and that is invaluable.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But I know the issue with standing up to the tall poppy syndrome. You know, you be the first one to stand up. That's when you get your head cut off.
Well, I mean, there's a difference too between standing up and standing up. So when I say standing up, I mean, I said when my morals were pushed by me going to work every day, knowing that there's a much bigger fight for our survival and the survival of New Zealand going on, I took a stand at that point and said, right, I'm not going to stay here and spend 8 hours a day working for the system. I'm going to spend as much time as I can fighting the system. That was me standing up. So by standing up, doing that, I didn't necessarily put my head up too high. It's not the same as standing up in a battle and getting tall poppy syndrome and getting your head locked up.
Definitely. I noticed in let's see, this is Twitch. Yeah, I noticed in the Twitch chat room we have the other person that's here, Marsden. There's not a whole lot of us here at the moment, but one of our good friends here, Rob Perham, he's a filmmaker. You know, he's actually really good. He's been doing a lot of.
He's held the ground here at Spearhead, right outside the refinery, for almost 60 days now.
Yeah, just like us, Rob and us, we've been working our butts off to raise awareness of what's happening up here, and it kind of blows my mind because a lot of New Zealanders had no idea that New Zealand even had Marsden Point.
Had a refinery, yeah. So I mean, we've already had a lot of really good things come from this movement, despite the white ants having a go at it. We've still got the word out far and wide. I mean, we're getting banners put up down in the South Island at the moment for the digging at Marsden, which is incredible.
Yeah, definitely. And the word is getting out, and people are starting to realize that, just because they've taken, very integral pieces out of the refinery, and it looks like, I mean, they pretty much fired a lot of the people that work there. It's not too late, That's the thing that we've been trying to push to people, is that it's not too late. The infrastructure is still there. All we'd have to do is open the door, and Marsden Point's right there.
Yeah, the majority of the plant is still there. And you have to also, I mean, I don't know if you want to go into this in depth now, Vinny, or maybe later.
Yeah, we might as well.
Up to you.
Yeah.
All right. So so the taxpayer actually funded some of the older infrastructure in Marsden Point, the hydrocracker, which is one of the the main pieces of infrastructure. It cost $1.8 billion, and the government gave it to Refining NZ at the time. So this is our refinery, right? So when they start taking bits out of here and selling it for scrap, they are stealing from us. We gave them that infrastructure. Since then, they've also had other infrastructure put in place, the CCR, the continuous catalytic reactor, which is a modern fuels type catalytic reactor. Now, that piece of equipment only went in 2015 into commission. It has a 20-year lifespan. So it still has it still has 13 years of its life left in it. And they're going to, we're here to make sure that they don't start selling those bits off to other countries who can then refine the fuel and sell it back to us at whatever cost they want.
Yeah, because at the moment we are getting screwed. Now, you've seen how high up the petrol prices are getting in this country, all over the country. It's
so all over the world. So it's
yeah,
quite
it's
obvious
getting
that there is
bad.
a global campaign to screw us by shutting down refineries, shutting down oil pipelines in the US, restricting the supply of oil because oil is so abundant and so it reproduces. It comes out of the Earth's crust. So I mean, in the 70s and 80s and 90s, we've been told we're going to run out of oil. We're going to run out of oil. We're not running out of
It's made
oil.
out of dinosaurs,
It's not made
man.
out of dinosaurs either. It's a recurring substance that comes up naturally in the Earth's
If I
crust and it
may,
refills the wells.
just elucidate people for this, we had Pastor Lindsay Williams on the show many, many times, and he was a chaplain on the Gull Island oil derrick, right? And they drilled much, much deeper than anybody had ever drilled before, and they found that deep underneath the Earth's crust, he said that there were, quote, oceans of oil. Anybody ever been on the ocean or even in a big sea? You see how huge that is? He says that that's underneath us and that it all reproduces. During the 1970s oil price shock, all the derricks in Texas farmland and stuff like that seemed to be going dry, and then they cracked them open a few years later and they were full of oil again. All right?
It's because it's a regenerative
It's
resource.
a naturally occurring substance in the Earth's crust.
It's something a lot of people don't realize because they're the powers that
Yeah,
be
but
that
they
are
have to.
telling you otherwise.
But the oil companies have to get out of the oil business to go green, right? So to do so, they need to squeeze a lot more money out of the product. So they're creating scarcity so they can price gouge us because they have to fund their foot in to the green technologies rubbish.
Yeah.
Solar farms, wind farms, all that sort of junk. That money's got to come from somewhere, and at the moment, it's coming from us through our oil prices.
But that's okay. Just go get your EV, you guys. It'll be okay. Get your EV. Rob can tell you all about EVs and how fun they are to charge right before a protest.
Yeah, see, I also thought about the idea of when you're a teenager and you get your first car, a car means freedom. Now, how much freedom do you really have if you can only drive your car a certain distance before it needs to stop and be recharged and whatnot? Could you drive to Christchurch from Auckland in 20 hours like I did when I was 19? No, you probably couldn't do that in an EV. In fact, you probably won't even be able to get out of your city before you have to go, I got to go back. And that's the whole idea behind Agenda 21. Is you are not going to be leaving your little district. You won't be authorised, and you're not even going to have a car either. You're going to have public transport. You're going to be living in a little egg crate apartment alongside railroad tracks with all the shops down the bottom of your building so that you don't have to leave your building either. Your job's there too. Man,
Exactly.
that's going to suck. Imagine how much that's going to restrict the consciousness. I was thinking about how my dad took us out to Rings Beach and then we got pippies and mussels and crabs and all sorts of things and got pulled us behind the boat on a little boogie board and whatnot. And just think about what did that do for my consciousness and what's it going to do to the consciousness of children who never experience that kind of thing?
That's it. It's put them in a lockdown. It's put our most vulnerable age group, which is teens coming out of a horrible school system for me. The freedom offered by my first motorcycle is something I will never forget. It was incredibly important. I worked after school at pack houses doing kiwi fruit packing to save up to buy my first motorcycle, and I was gone out. And the freedom and the mental the benefit to my mental health from having that freedom was incredible. It's with me till this day. Absolutely, so I absolutely agree with what you say. The freedom that comes from having a motor vehicle and being able to drive it in New Zealand is a really large factor in mental health.
One note on that, it just reminds me of what Bill Cooper said about when you're under a communist rule, it's like living in daddy's house. Yes, daddy pays for the roof over your head. Yes, daddy feeds you and gives you water and pays for the electricity. But if you want to borrow the car and go to the next town to a party, you've got to ask daddy's permission. And if daddy says no, you can't go to that party. If daddy says you've got to take out the trash today, you have to take out the trash today.
And there are all sorts of challenges with living on your own and taking personal responsibility. But a lot of people who haven't been dependent their entire life, who know what it's like to be a human that is strong and capable, know that the hardship of responsibility is worth the price of freedom.
Well said.
Absolutely.
And Bill Cooper's the man. So thank you for quoting him. He makes very good points.
Yeah. And so does your local meth dealer, ladies and gentlemen. Now, hey, protesters got to keep awake somehow, don't they? Now,
it's too close to home, bro.
We weren't going to go there, but
oh man, I'm sorry. That was a poor taste, but
No,
that's what I do.
That's okay, because it's actually there's more truth to that than you could possibly know. My goodness, we didn't realize how bad the meth problem was in this country till you go on the protest circuit. Then you realize all these people that have been holding the line for 8 hours straight. How are they doing that? We know.
not all of them.
No, not all of them. But
Yeah.
some of them are just positive like machines, bro.
Yeah.
Now you know why.
Yeah, I mean, now you know why the protesters just don't go down, son.
Well, but to be honest, and to be fair, those cops on the front line on the last day in Wellington, they looked like they'd been smoking it up hard before they came out. There was not an ounce of compassion or emotion or feeling in those cops. They were just.
Oh, dude, especially the one that had the rubber bullet gun. Like, he was just like, let's do this. Let's do this. I want to get everybody in the front line right now. Let's do it. Like, it's disturbing to see that both sides were dealing with the exact same thing.
Yeah. It was very difficult for me because I couldn't go to the protest, bail conditions and whatnot from being arrested nearly a year beforehand. And every time, everybody's talking about this protest. Everybody I know is going down there. And I'm sitting there at home going, It's very sad.
Well, that's where they get you, right? It's not on the arrest for trespass. What they do is they get you on the subsequent breach of bail. That is what they're getting people on. So that's how it's the insidious nature of this system. They have a means of control of anyone who steps outside their little box. So you go out and you protest and you get a little bit of a slap on the wrist, that's fine. But when you breach the bail conditions after that, that's when you get taken off the board. You can't play anymore.
So you did the right thing. Not to mention, I mean, well, let's just face it. I mean, you weren't missing a whole lot.
Well, you missed pretty.
I'm trying to make him feel better.
You missed the biggest thing to ever happen in New Zealand, Vinny. It was amazing.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Yeah, but
No, but the thing is, it's just a punishment, ongoing. You basically. I've interviewed so many people who this has happened to, and it's just the first time it's happened to me. And it's like Morpheus said to Neo: "There's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path." And I think there's a lot of people out there. You shouldn't be discouraged. I mean, so what if you lose all your friends and your livelihood and your reason for living? Just become an activist, bro.
Yeah, no big deal.
No, but to be honest, by the time you work out how corrupt the system is and that we're in a really awful and insidious system from birth, and everything you've been told is a lie, but if you still feel like fighting after that, they're not going to take that away from you.
Yeah, you got a point on, and not to mention the fact that once you lose most of that stuff, and you jump like head on into this whole like lifestyle.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to go back.
It's hard to go back. You find pleasure and joy and love in places you wouldn't know they existed. And you, when you meet a good person out here on the circuit, out here on the protesting, and you spend time with a good person, you meet characters that you would only read about in books out here.
Definitely.
And they're so genuine, and they're the companionship out here versus being inside that system with the fakeness and stuff like that is, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Well said.
Yeah, I'd trade it for a I don't know what I'd trade it for. Somebody'd have to make me a big offer or whatever. I remember one time at a party, a guy said, "Well, theoretically, Vinny, if somebody came up to you and said $50 million, Vinny, just to stop doing what you're doing," I'd say, "Yeah, sure, no problem." Then I'd spend that $50 million funding all sorts of other people who'd do what I would have done.
That's how you do that.
and then he goes, no, but there'd be a stipulation that you wouldn't be able to do that either, as in you quit, you stop forever trying to push the truth out to people. And I go, $50 million? Yeah. Cash? Yeah. Can't do it, man.
You can't, because this is what we're finding is in this circuit that we're in this slightly different version of New Zealand than the mainstream version, is the people whose actions meet up with their words are the people that are starting to shine at the moment. It's quite a moving thing to witness.
Oh yes. And some of the people that you never thought possible would be those ones that would be the most courageous. We've seen.
And a shout out to DK Conspiracies, who's in the chat. One of your avid fans, and he does a bit of freedom fighting down there in the south.
Yeah,
well, with the amount of beer he drinks, he's more of a rabid fan, really, than an avid fan.
He knows it.
And that's why we love DK. because
he's consistent.
Who needs an excuse? I mean, I do believe that there's a grand possibility that people can actually have fun while fighting for the truth. That's basically my idea. Just because we're being exterminated doesn't mean we can't enjoy it. And the meaning behind that, whether or not people realize it, is it's about coming to terms with what you know. All right, and being able to enjoy life anyway, because ultimately, if you're unable to enjoy life or enjoy your own flaws, for that matter, you're going to forget what you're fighting for at the end of the day, because there's nothing enjoyable in it for you. It just all becomes about the job. It all becomes about the job, and your relationship starts suffering, and your health starts suffering, and you forget to stop and smell the flowers.
We did have that when we first jumped out of the system and into this, maybe 2 or 3 weeks after Wellington. It was like, well, what do we do now? It was quite a low energy period for us.
You made a very, very good point, though. Very good point. That you do have to enjoy what you're doing. You have to find some enjoyment out of something. Otherwise, you're just a cold, empty shell of a person trying to do the right thing. I feel you. We've been just on the slide. We're not gonna name any names. We're not gonna put anybody out there, but we've been having our own sort of fun here at Marsden Point. There's a lot of strange occurrences that have been happening at the oil refinery that we just so happened to catch on camera. Things like, strange banners going up that says "Save Me NZ" on the top of the CCR.
Someone turned the flag upside down.
Somebody, I don't know who did that. Somebody just went up there. I don't know how many stories up on that CCR, flipped the New Zealand flag upside down, and it stayed there for about 8 hours before the operators realized what was happening.
Yeah, so things like that give you a lot of amusement, a lot of encouragement.
Yeah, I mean, Kiwi even went so far as to buy a projector, just a little secondhand projector, and started playing a movie on one of the tanks, the diesel tanks, so everybody could see it. Yeah, even the operators. But yeah, there's a lot of hijinks you can get into. But we're not going to be naming any names because they know who they are.
Well, it's about political theatre, basically. This is how the Greeks did it. They realized that sometimes you couldn't get across your point in a democracy without a few jokes in there in order to keep them interested. This is about
Painting
fun.
painting the picture. There's for me and Sue, I think we see because we've looked and we spend a lot of time researching, like yourself, Benny. We've seen what we believe is the bigger picture, and now we're just watching things filter in towards where they're going. I forgot where I'm going with this. Anyway,
It's been a long morning, bro.
it's been long. Yeah, no, I've completely lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
We're talking about where we're going in terms of communication with other people and the public, trying to get them on board.
Oh yeah, so it's our job to paint the picture for them. We've grown up with a vision that has been programming us with what they want us to hope and wish and expect from this world, this reality. So we're out there trying to learn how to paint pictures for people of what we see this world being, and what we see this the potential in this world, and the different outcomes that we could have, the different conversations. And we paint because we can see that our mind has been opened up. And I'm not saying we're super special. I'm just saying this is how I feel and how Sue feels.
Yeah.
That it's our job to paint a picture to the people who can't see that, who might not have enough hope to see that, who might be in a bit too much despair, under too much pressure. They just haven't looked where we've looked for solutions to the problems of this world.
Not to mention, if we get enough people on that, in that mind frame, I mean, we're not new agey at all, but somehow all these people can manifest that into reality. Enough people getting on that same wavelength. I do believe you can manifest some sort of reality from it.
Well, everything is manifested. So you have a thought, and that thought then becomes a grouping of energy. You then act on that thought, and you then manifest that thought into reality. So first of all, you need to be able to have that thought. You need to be able to paint the picture of the world that you want, and we need more of us out there painting the picture of the way we want this to be.
I mean, there used to be, I think there was a legislative change in the United States whereby the 800 different media outlets across the continental US have now become like what, 5, 3, 4 or something
5 or
like
3
that.
or something, yeah.
So I think that to reverse that, each and every person who has the capacity within their own area to do anything like media that is truthful and what have you, with the social media that's left, maybe you should be doing that. Precisely because of the fact, because no one person can do it all, no one organisation can do it all, and there's too many people out there, and I feel for them as well, because I used to be in that camp as well, going to all of these people who are already doing something and telling them that this is what they need to do as well. Or going to people who are already doing something and saying, I want to do it with you, how can I contribute and how can I be part of it? Now, while these come from a genuine place of yes, wanting to help, yes, wanting to do good, in problematic things, you should be thinking about what kind of those messages am I sending to other people should I be sending to myself? What should I be doing better? And how can I help myself do that?
Self-reflection is an incredibly important tool to improve the situation, your situation, the situation in the world, internal reflection, and things like that. One of the things I do give the New Age movement credit for is, building up internal self-confidence and self-worth. That is an incredibly important thing.
Oh yeah, I did have to mention something though, because we've been stuck in this holding pattern in Marsden for a while, and it was because of a similar, thing where we're trying to get all these other people to start doing, the mahi for us. We're trying to get, well, at first it was for us because we're doing our own mahi over here.
Well, we were supposed to just be filming this event.
Yeah, you notice how you ever had that happen, bro? Where you go to a place or an event with a camera and I'm gonna observe and report. And then you end up being smack dab in the middle of it.
Next minute, you're worried about getting arrested.
I don't
Yeah,
know when that
I have
happens.
some inclination of what that's about. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured, but yeah, that's the type of that's the struggle we're facing right now. Is that we become full on activists, if you will, but we're also trying to film and we're trying to narrate the story as we go. Um, we're supposed to be taking this secure Marsden Refinery project on the road. We're trying to get more people involved. Just to be aware of this national asset that everyone needs to try to help save.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't know that we were refining 70% of our own fuel needs up to, I think it was January.
Yeah.
January, March, April, May. So New Zealand was refining from crude 70% of the products we need here. We were only importing 30%, and that was things like the Allied Petroleum Company, the Waitomos, and things like that. So this refinery is actually, even though it's a slightly smaller scale on a global stage, it's well and truly capable of keeping New Zealand energy independent. And there are plenty of oil reserves that have been capped off around New Zealand and hidden away where we could be entirely energy self-sufficient energy wise. And most people just don't know that stuff.
We could be an oil exporting country, and we could be rich as those people in Saudi Arabia who have like 17 Lamborghini Diablos.
Well, we could. So New Zealand actually exports its LPG. That's why in New Zealand you don't get LPG vehicles, because there was a deal done where we sell LPG to Australia for, I think it's like 16 cents a litre or something like that. This deal happened ages ago. And it's why the LPG market in New Zealand doesn't exist, because we can't get LPG cheaper in this country because we're selling it too cheap to Australia.
Yeah, and I'm thinking we were kind of starting to see that same issue with bitumen. So we were producing our own bitumen in this country up until about 18 months ago.
It wasn't. Well, they say 18 months ago. The plant was actually working up until March this year.
Yeah, but were we actually using that bitumen?
No.
That's the thing. So during the lockdowns, when New Zealand wasn't driving anywhere or going anywhere.
Perfect time to fix the roads.
Perfect time to fix the roads. And for all you people who aren't aware of what bitumen is, it is actually the chemical add on to in the asphalt.
It's a byproduct. So after you go through all the equipment in this refinery, you're left with a really thick, gooey product that can be then turned into asphalt. So they use like 97% of crude oil and create a usable, profitable product out of it. And asphalt was one of the last things in the process to be created, or bitumen was one of the last things to be created. And New Zealand has its own specific bitumen standard, M10 or MO1, which has a very high ductility, so it's super sticky. Now, the problem we have at the moment, Waka Kotahi has done a report and things like that, we can't get that good quality bitumen from overseas suppliers. We're getting crap, and we're paying too much for it. They've said they're paying like 3 times too much for the stuff.
And just not on just the payment of the bitumen, but we're all paying for this every time we go on a long road
Every
trip.
time you get a stone chip in your windscreen, because the bitumen is sub-quality and the stones come loose and it's gone and chipped your windscreen.
We're trying to do this side project called #shitumen. Okay, so excuse my bad language, but bad bitumen, so shitumen, right?
Well, I mean, life's a bitumen and then you die.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you can see on the roads, especially up here in the Northland, you can see a lot of damage on the roads, like potholes aplenty. And every time, every time you see one of those giant dump trucks coming your way, it's like you want to wince because you know what's about to happen. Every time we go on this certain road, especially going to Whangarei, you're always getting a wind chip, like a windshield chip.
Now, heaps of people will argue, the roads have always been terrible. And yes, the roads have always been terrible, but I argue with you now, the roads are way worse than they've ever been. Last week, we got 2 stone chips in 1 week on the same stretch of road. The next week, we went to go buy a stone chip repair kit and got a 3rd chip.
And then we went to the place to get it, and they were sold out.
And they were sold out. Yep. Thanks, Repco.
Yeah, thank you, Repco. they tell you online, oh, we have that in stock. It's
Yes.
okay. And then you go way over there, 28 kilometers later, and they're like, oh, we don't have that.
And
Sorry.
and my sister, she wondered why air conditioning had stopped working. Turns out there was a stone that had gone through and pierced the air conditioning gas, and so now we've got an environmental issue where poor bitumen is releasing air conditioning gas into the atmosphere.
Yay!
Vinny's like, how did we get to air conditioning gas?
It's a sliding scale. It's a sliding scale, isn't it? You have all of these what I call unintended consequences, all right? Layers upon layers upon layers of unintentional consequences of singular actions. And I think the New World Order is very adept at this, Hey, let's do this one thing over here, and it'll cause all these cascading effects that fulfill our agenda also.
Yeah, I think they actually sit there and have a game to see how many roll-on effects and how many different layers they can get, like dominoes, And the one that can get the most dominoes to fall in each move is like Chief Asshat.
Yeah.
Chief Asshat.
Okay, Gary, how many unintended consequences does your decision make? Oh, about 17. Well, that's really amazing. What about you, Bob? Mine has 28. Oh, 28 unintended consequences for your actions. Well, he's top of the heap. What about you, Andrew? I have 72 unintended consequences from my plan. It's like, whoa, man, okay, he takes the cake.
Andrew for the win. Definitely.
You just got to sit around and coming up with stuff. I call it the MSU policy. It stands for making shit up. And you can see the MSU policy is very, very strong whenever you see politicians or the mainstream media talking about anything.
Oh, yeah, that's their job.
Yeah, we're actually trying to avoid that stuff now.
Yeah, me too. I've been avoiding it for 12 years now, I think.
Good on you, bro, because not too many of us can do that. I swear, every time we go on Telegram, you just get, it's all the MSM and politician stuff. All at once. Just eat it.
Yeah.
I know exactly how you feel.
All they want to do is pollute your consciousness. Speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, please donate to the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. That's Vinny with a Y because it's the most important question in Eastwood. Go ahead. Make my news. And if you make a donation, you can request a guest to come on the show. You can have a private call with me, or you can get my help with your media project or idea. And you can also get access to the Secret Donors Club on Facebook. And you can donate through PayPal, one-off or weekly or monthly, and also Kiwi Bank as well. If you want to support us monthly, you can support the band through Patreon, Vinny and the Vendettas. And we're working on lots of songs and stuff like that all the time and stuff. Occasionally we throw things up, but basically you're just supporting the show. All right, so that's that sorted. And our sponsors as well, of course, as you'll be seeing in the screens for the listeners, of course. I know you guys can't see this at the moment. HoldenHealthCare.com, emphasis on the care. David Holden's a naturopathic oncologist, has been working for over 30 years now with hard to treat cases. So the people out there who've been going through the medical ringer and having your mainstream medicine experience being somewhat lacking in terms of healing you and making you healthy and actually caring who you are and what you do and how that affects your health and whatnot, go to HoldenHealthCare.com. The emphasis is on the care for a reason. And there's also a medical disclaimer on there. And last sponsor of the day as well is a reopen.nz, a directory of anti-mandate, pro-choice, all-inclusive businesses in New Zealand. And if you go to reopen.nz, you can see all of the freedom businesses that have been added to it, including, I think the most recent addition is Tap and Turn Therapy. This is my the guest that I had on, Tammy, who was talking about EFT tapping and as a form of therapy, and she's added herself onto that freedom business. It's good to see, along with so many others. So yeah, go to reopen.nz if you want to end those mandates. And lastly, I just want to kind of like give a plug to my my archivist, Julia, who has been diligently. She contacted me, guys, after the arrest happened and the deplatforming and all of that kind of stuff, and she's been archiving all the stuff that's been on BitChute and Odyssey and whatnot on the website, and then putting it up on Rumble and the One Great Work Network and BitChute and Odyssey and that kind of thing for us for all the links. So I'm very, very grateful to Julia, and on the archive pages there should be a PayPal and Kiwi Bank in there for her as well. So please support the archiving efforts additionally, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for that. Sue and Kiwi are my very special guests coming at us live from the Marsden Point Refinery. Is it still watering down with rain out there, or are you able to quickly give us a show?
No, we can bring you around. We can bring you around.
Yeah. Check it out, bro.
Yeah, give me 2 seconds.
I'll be watching to see if it comes out right. We're a little bit handicapped, but that's okay.
All right, how's that?
Yeah, we can see the point. I think you made your point quite nicely.
Oh, we've been having fun with that game. Oh, and just a quick, we had to give a shout out to Napoleon Bush for our awesome hoodies. The NZMSM Mercenaries of State Terror. Very good stuff, man.
Yeah, like Vinny, Napoleon's out there doing what he can, and we really just want to encourage anyone who wants to get off their butt and try and do something to slow down the system and to steer it where we want it to go.
Yep. And also, I had to, one last thing, because I don't want to forget this. I will kick myself. If anybody in the audience wants to help us out with this cause, whether it be offering a little emotional support, a little cohort, whatever, please visit www.securemarsdenrefinery.nz. You'll learn everything you need to know about our mission here and what you can do to help, whether it be holding signs or what have you.
Yep, or you can jump into our Telegram.
Yep.
If you don't mind if we plug our Telegram, do you, Vinny?
Well, you can plug whatever you want. This show's like a bathtub. It doesn't work without one.
Yeah, man.
All right, so what's our Telegram, honey?
I'm getting to it. I'm going to put it in the chat right now.
So we're going to drop that in the chat for your Twitch users.
Yep.
And I just want to say thank you, Vinny, for having us on. It's been awesome chatting with you, and it was great to meet you the other night and to meet another freedom fighter who's been through the ringer and is hanging himself out to dry and having another crack like all of us.
Yep, and for you guys that aren't on Twitch, the Telegram link is t.me/Kiwi and Sue. Shouldn't be too hard for you to remember. Kiwi and Sue. Sue and Kiwi. Always Kiwi first. There we go.
Indeed. And, a little bit of refining humour. Of course, my humour's not that well refined, is it? But
it's a bit crude.
It is it. My humour is not like petrol. It is a bit crude. Just what was I going to say? Oh yeah. What's the? Been learning a bit of te reo lately, and yeah. And what's the Māori word for a gay Pākehā?
Go on.
Waitomo.
All right.
Oh.
While we're at it, what do you call the child of a Maori person and a Jewish person?
I don't know.
Hebrew. I hope no one takes offense to that. We don't want anyone to be offended. Yeah. One of my good friends in Australia married and had children with a Jewish girl, and he actually told me that joke.
I like both, but my humor is very crude. So.
How many ways can you get banned up for one show? I'm just trying to test the waters on this.
Bro. I'm just saying, you're talking to two people who had a show that lasted 2 weeks, on YouTube?
No, I think we got 2 shows out of YouTube before they went.
Yeah, those 2 shows on YouTube.
Because you get the 1 strike, then you get the 2 strike, and then you don't want to risk the 3rd strike because you lose all your saved channels.
Yeah, but then they got us anyway.
No, we're still on there. We just don't post anything.
No.
And I'm sorry to everybody about the white homo joke. I mean, everybody's heard of the white homo caves, but not many people have heard of the black homo caves, which do go deeper. Now, we
I like it.
we're very highbrow on the show. Now, I've been doing this a long time, and emotional let off of steam, man. Oh goodness, it's got to be done all the time. The old saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Nothing could be further from the truth, man. Keep your friends nice and close, ladies and gentlemen, because they'll be there for you when the chips are down. Your enemies won't be.
You're right about that.
No, they'll be over the other camp conspiring against you.
Yeah. Well, one can only hope. So as they say, about further ado, that's it for the show today. I want to thank everybody in the chat room: DK, Spiracy, Debbie Lacey, Copernicus, and many others. And people from Marsden Point actually tuning in while you're in there as well. I'm sure that when you get out of the van, they'll be like, "Oh, that was a great show," and you're like, "Yeah, Vinny's awesome, isn't he?" And Papa Brown Vui in the chat room. I just wanted to say Papa Brown Vui because it sounds really cool. And Benny Mac in the chat as well. One of my mods from the Twitch chat said to me the other day, "Hey Vinny, what's happened to Benny Mac? Is he dead or something?" And I was like, "I don't know, bro. I'm gonna send him a text and find out." No, Benny's not dead. He's still alive. Just keeping his head down, as you do.
Like a good boy.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually what Stefan Verstappen told me. He's author of Urban Guerrilla Tactics, which isn't about warfare. It's about just getting around a system when you're living in a city. And he said that basically, Vinny, what you got to do is you got to keep your head down. All right, keep doing what you're doing and what have you, but play the grey man. All right, speak about things in analogy. All right, and in fable and that kind of thing. Algorithms can't read it, apparently. Yeah. And he's still on YouTube.
Digital camouflage.
Yeah.
Good job, bro.
Mm-hmm.
What an interesting idea. Unfortunately, I still haven't listened, and I'm still just telling it like it is, like an idiot. So, hey, life could be worse. The world could be run by child trafficking Satanists, and thank God that's not the case. Otherwise, I might be perturbed somewhat. I might be concerned.
Same. Definitely same. Yeah. That would be awful.
I mean, thank God for small mercies, eh? All right. Well, thank you very much. Ladies, gentlemen, slaves of the global plantation. The Vinny Eastwood Show is bad news. It's like the news, but worse. It's the lighter side of genocide. Just because we're being exterminated doesn't mean we can't enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point of being killed? The Vinny Eastwood Show, where the only thing worse than living in a high-tech global police state run by child trafficking Satanists is Vinny's jokes. I mean seriously, they're just awful.